Chad, you and I have a project going together right now. The Sancho pen, or as Brantley calls it, the Sancho. So I had this wild idea when I went and visited you guys. I said, what if we took one of your pen designs and we took the idea from the Sendy to put toothpick and tweezers in here. So toothpick, tweezers. But I was like, what if we stuck them in the end of this thing?
Yep.
Here's what amazed me about it. I had this idea to throw a Bic crystal insert in one of their pens. Like we basically ripped off your pen and said, let's put a Bic crystal in there and then let's put tweezers and toothpick in the end of this thing.
Yep.
Which we did.
Very classic navs.
Classic navs, to take an idea that exists already and say, how do you change it 2 degrees and make it interesting? So I kind of just like floated this into the ether. I showed up to your shop with one of these guys. I was like, what if?
Yeah.
And you guys were like, let's do it.
Yep.
And it was amazing to me because we had a prototype in hand in like 3 weeks.
Yes.
That's remarkable. The fact that you could 3-week prototype a pen, and I mean, the interesting thing, so pull your other pen over there.
Yeah.
We re-engineered the entire inside of this thing because your typical pen does not have, so if you pull the inside out, it doesn't have this column in there, is there? No, it's freestanding. So like, you guys designed, engineered, worked with your partners to make this thing feasible with a Bic crystal. And you did it in like a week and a half.
Yeah.
How did you get your business so streamlined in a way that like you can iterate so quickly?
It kind of goes back to the origin of the company. Is when Joe and I started Big Idea Design, we didn't even know you could OE anything. We didn't know
what is OE?
So when you have someone else make the products for you and put your logo on it.
Yep.
It's kind of like custom made products through another manufacturer. We didn't even know that was a possibility. And so we just started meeting with different people, different factories, and building our own supply chain for things. And along the way, we met a fantastic project manager who we did a project with, and then that relationship was built. He actually had a license for the technology of retractable wheel hub that would suck in the cords, and so we started working with him.
Cool.
And from there, it's just been pedal to the floor since then. So he had a lot of manufacturing experience, and so any good idea, bad idea, weird idea we could throw at him.
Big idea?
I guess so.
Think about
I
it.
wasn't going to say it. But no.
I love it.
Mainly strange ideas,
Yeah.
Just curious ideas. Could we do this? Could we not do this? And then we would go from there, and it cut out a lot of the back and forth that you have trying to work with larger companies.
Cool. So a little bit of your history. You and Joe are living in China. You're working for a different company.
Yep.
And you're like creating this, so you're in Beijing making a supply chain for what kind of products? Pens? What were you, because you got the project manager, you've got these wild ideas, but how are you making this thing real?
Well, we could back up to the origin. Joe and I, our first company we ever started was a children's furniture company. And so...
How did it go?
the products came out great. The designs were exactly what we expected. The selling part did not go so well.
Your first Kickstarter, if I'm not mistaken, you were looking for $40,000. You raised $6,800 from 48 backers. Now, I'm not trying to pour salt in an old wound, but that's not very good.
No, that's like funeral potato good.
You could eat funeral potatoes over that Kickstarter, right?
Like you'd break these out because obviously that project did not work.
But you're in a totally different era now. I mean, this thing has been live for a week.
Yep.
And I think you've got 200 something backers, 60, 70K.
We're very thankful for everyone who jumps on the project and checks it out.
But you're way past furniture territory. How did you end up making children's furniture? And now you're making knives, you're making pens. How did that even happen?
The easy answer is it's all design. And I've always loved design. Joe's loved design. And so we got together and we just tried to see if we could get the things that were in here out into the world. So with the furniture, children's furniture, I volunteered to redecorate a first grade English class while we were living in China. And so totally unpaid, totally just volunteer, like, sure, I'll do it.
Cool.
I had no experience designing a classroom, but that didn't matter. I was like, I'll do it.
You love design.
Yeah, I love design, so it was fun. The project, part of that was desks. I needed to find someone to help me make these custom desks that I had in my head that needed to come out. So we worked with the manufacturer who actually worked behind the factory that Joe and I worked for. And so he was willing to help us out.
Cool.
And so he said, you need to have this many for us to make it. And that's where the first Kickstarter, we were like trying to fill an entire container full. And that's where the $40,000, was it 40? Yeah.
It was 40,000.
That's where the $40,000 goal came from. We did not hit that by a long shot.
$6,800?
Yeah, we're a little bit away.
48 backers? That sounds like your mom, your dad, like aunts,
My mom
uncles.
was on
like,
there.
Yeah,
Yeah, she
right?
did.
Like, not to be rude,
Yeah.
but like, like, why did you keep going?
Well,
Because like that, I would do that and I'd be like, I'm done with Kickstarter, I'm out.
I don't think Joe and I ever had a problem with failing. So like we're like, oh, it didn't work. Let's see what we can rework. How can we pivot? And so we just went back to the manufacturer and we said, okay, what's the largest sample run we can do? And it was 100 pieces. We're like, okay, we'll go back to Kickstarter and try that. We already had all the photos and videos and everything set for the project. So it was real easy to go back, just negotiate 100 pieces and then know what we needed to make financially to cover the 100 pieces, which is way, something we learned that was like, oh, that was a much better approach. Like, what's the minimum we need to make instead of like, what's the minimum mass production we need to make as far as the sample run. So from there, after that funded, we learned a lot about shipping big, bulky items. It's not cheap. It's very hard to warehouse those items.
Not cheap to ship it again
Not
after
cheap
it gets
to ship
here.
it again. If it's damaged during shipping, then you're replacing that at a loss. So we kind of circled the wagons, so to speak, and we're like, yeah, let's do something else, like smaller objects that we will carry every day, that we'll use every day. And so that's where it came into just kind of expanding our minds and like, let's shift it and let's do something else. And so
Is that where you landed on pens?
we didn't land there first. No.
What'd you land on first?
First, we landed on a flexible LED flashlight.
Did you have one?
I do.
I love
Yeah.
it.
And so you can see on the back here, we called it the pack light. And we didn't even put the company name because we just kind of threw this together. We just got the domain, bigidesign.com.
Can I turn it? How do I?
It's not charged by any
Oh,
means.
dang it.
No.
This is so anticlimactic.
Yeah.
But would you just like, you just bend it around wherever you needed it? Kind of
Yes.
like a work light sort of thing? Do
Yep.
you still sell this?
No. We did a Kickstarter on it. It was funded. We got, sold, I don't remember, a couple hundred pieces at max, had them made, and then we said, okay, electronics are not our thing. Because it's very complicated working with the IC board and the programming, and then the battery had to be custom made to fit this to have as many hours as it needed to power. There's magnets integrated here. So it was just like one of these things that we continually learn. Just because you can design it doesn't mean you can make it.
And make it well. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then there was charging complications. If the little port breaks off, the whole thing is rendered useless.
So at what point did you say, let's make pens? Because one of your biggest Kickstarters of all time was your first pen.
Yes.
And
Yep.
I think it was if not the first, the second titanium pen on Kickstarter.
Our first pen was actually, we called it the PHX, which
Okay.
is a little known secret. Even Brantley didn't know this for a while. He said, why did you call that the PHX? It was like, well, my last name is Parker, Joe's last name is Huang, and anything with an X sounds cool. And so we just made it PHX1 for the first pen that we were going to make together.
I love that.
We've always had very simple, very straightforward naming.
You have. I mean, you've got names like Thai pen, Thai,
Yep.
like
Yep.
everything.
TI Pocket Knife 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm over here naming things Sancho.
Which is super fun. Has a good narrative to it.
I think that's why I love this collaboration so much, is because you guys are so like, we will name it the TI2. And I'm like, yes. And now we will put toothpick and tweezers, and we will put a stupid name and a stupid story on it. Because I think for me, I love that part of design where it's like, it's not just the object, it is the story that goes with it.